fighting for the I-Hotel, basically where your head was back in during the time. Her first question is about your personal life. What was it like going to school, like elementary, high school, college, as a Filipino American? Did you experience racism, discrimination? If so, how did you overcome it?
Well, let's see, that goes back pretty far. I think when, Filipinos were not that many. When I was growing up in San Francisco, it was, we had fewer Filipinos than after '65, when you might say the immigration laws changed, and there were more preferences in a lot of professionals and their families to come in. So growing up, my parents had a house in the Fillmore, and then they switched over to the Richmond district. And the first years I went to school was in a Catholic school. My parents wanted me to go to Catholic school. So, in a way, there weren't a lot of my people of color in there. But, times it got rough, because certainly certain attitudes come out, right, about, from my classmate, although these were also my friends. But it's just that at that time, it's hard to understand it. It's not like I could really talk to my parents about it, But I guess you grow up with it, knowing that it's there, knowing that you try not to let it get to you, and basically you try to do well in school. I mean, they were really heavy into education, so they really wanted us to excel, my younger brother and I. But yeah, we went from elementary and then high school at Washington and then to Berkeley. But it was one of those things where it wasn't until I went to Berkeley that it became clear what this was really all about. That racism was something that permeates our society, the inequalities. And then I could try to answer questions about my own uncles and my moms at that period. Why were they so, poor, or why didn't they have a family? You try to understand what their experience was, and it's really only through, trying to understand Filipino history through, say, Carlos Belisario, Manuel Buaquin, some of the authors of that time, just what their experience was, because they faced anti-miscegenation laws. They faced, sort of Jim Crowism, kind of, because they had at that time separate but equal. In other words, they were forced to live in places where, like, here, Kearny Street, you couldn't live any place outside of this area. Not that many would open to you. They would talk about crossing north into Broadway to North Beach, right, across Market, and you take your life in your own hands. That's what the level of racial profiling is. And so it really hit home what our experience as Filipinos were when I was going to school. Got involved with the farm workers, learned a lot about the history of the agricultural industry and the monarchs who were working there. Their experiences, just a lot of them taught me so much about their life, and in so doing, it's just a heavy experience to really listen and not know that you can't read this anywhere. You got to listen to them and find out from them what was it that they faced. Many of them single, many of them without families and children. So, and then I was involved in the Third World Strike at Berkeley. I was involved in the founding of ethnic studies, Asian Americans that I taught. I was one of the founding instructors of the school when it opened up. So it was just a lot of, it was just sort of a crash course. When you go to someplace like Berkeley, it's a very privileged school, a public university, very highly prestigious public university, but But you also learn some of the dark side of that areas in terms of what it's for. They didn't have studies for Asian Americans or African Americans, and they instituted it after the strike. And it's created a precedent for other universities around the country, when they have Asian American studies and African American studies, Chicano studies. So it was also a period of not only the farm workers, but the anti-war movement, the civil rights movement, all these collided. And this is the experience that I grew up with. It was just so much going on outside the classroom as opposed to inside the classroom. So
So you were involved in like all those things that were happening.
I got involved, but at the same time, I also had to finish school. My parents paid for my
to
education.
balance things out
They
too.
needed to know that, that was the bargain. If you're gonna go to university and they pay for it, then you got to make sure that you finish. And I did. I did graduate. And so I got involved in the I-Hotel full time. I taught at Berkeley part time, but I got involved. And we got a lease. We fought for the hotel. And after the fire, where 3 miners were killed. And so after that, we had to fight. Just had to get out there on the street and fight and build up the movement to try to oppose it. We were successful. We opened it up July 1st, 1969. I graduated in December of '69, so I kind of became more full time. Running the hotel.
So you knew it was like going on at that time, and was there any specific person that like had to invite you? Or
No, it was just a bunch. It was like the young and the old. It was an intergeneration of people who were together. Our mom certainly couldn't have just fought by themselves. It took the young people to the late to get out on the street, to protest, to organize. And then because it was the third world strike, after that, there was just a lot of what we call the Asian American identity movement, the Filipino American identity movement. So many people just came out. It was just really, it was that combined with the war against Asians in Southeast Asia, and the civil rights movement. It was just a growing experience for those of us at that time, my generation. So I was very fortunate. And it really set me on a course, to where I wanted to do. I liked organizing. I worked here, in the old I-Hotel. And, a lot of young people can just, when they have their life, they just want to just go off and do things, like travel. Maybe get a nice job and have families and stuff, but one just had to stay because this struggle could not have depended on just the young mountains and living. It took, I wasn't alone. There was a lot of people in my generation around. But it made us realize that the fight for justice, the fight for equality, the fight for affordable housing, it can't be just a fight that it's empty. You have to back it up. You have to have people out there. And it's the same thing today. You have people who are outstanding in terms of what they do to stop evictions or stop, So a lot of them spent time with me. They took me aside. They spent time, talked to me. And I guess in many ways they saw themselves as having to pass it on to another generation. That they saw some qualities, not just in me, but others, that they knew that the struggle continues, and they took leadership. I learned a lot from them. And I've gone to Berkeley and other schools. These were, they were far greater professors than I am professors, because they taught me a lot about life, just about their experiences was very enriching, very painful too, because they had so much that they had to put up with, and we still put up with a lot of stuff. Nothing kind of comparable to what they dealt with, their past lives when they were young.
At the forefront of the activism that took place to save the I-Hotel, in any moment of time, did you ever feel like giving up? And did you ever have to question, why am I doing this? Should I keep doing
Thousands
this?
of times. It's, as a young person, you want to go on and live life, full life, you want to experience new things. But certainly, giving up is something that it's always there. You can always make a choice. You can just pick up and go and leave. But I also had very deep roots among people. I just knew that I had to just stick it out with them. I had to be part of this. And I did. I stayed with them all the way to the end. And in that sense, I learned a lot about leadership. I learned a lot about the culture. Learned a lot about the Philippines. And this is Chinatown, so I learned a lot about Chinese people. So, living here was a real trip, because I grew up in the Richmond district. I lived in Berkeley, but then living here with all this, with how highly dense it is, population-wise, and then living next to the beach, this is just really the center part of town. And in many ways, it has a lot of rewards, living down here in the International Temple. But, you got to remember that a hotel killed 3 people. And there's a risk when you live in a hotel that may not be that up to par, standards. So that fear is also there. But they had no other places to go. So we did a lot to try to protect them. We used to have a night watch, we used to, because the front door was always open, so people could walk in. So they were the prostitutes, and all kinds of criminals that they come in with. But, under the circumstances, we did our best.
Most people would have just allowed the evictions. However, you sought to fight against it. In what moment, time, place did you decide you had to fight against the injustice happening to the residents of the I-Hotel?
Well, I knew from the beginning that it was going to be a long fight. I used to work with the Human Rights Commission. Most evictions happened just within 2 months. This one took 8 years. It took a long time. But that's because we had a lot of support. This struggle had a lot of people pulling for us, churches, unions, neighborhoods. People saw the injustice. How can they ignore it? There wasn't affordable housing being built. And it was really only because of the I-Hotel that non-profit developers came up, started to rebuild a lot of the hotels, buildings in San Francisco, so that they can make it affordable for poor people. And it was a terrible, it was a very painful lesson, but it woke this city up, it woke the country up to the fact that you just cannot just evict, just can't throw people out on the street. They have their dignity, and you have to respect that. You have to find ways to provide it. The city was not doing much to make housing available for all kinds of different reasons. But when you look at Manila Town, look at this. It was a 10-block community. Now it was down to the last building of the last block. And all of it was all torn down. There's tenement buildings, the businesses, the pool halls. These were frequented by the monitors. And why? Well, because After World War II, they wanted to expand the financial district. San Francisco became sort of the financial center for the United States Pacific and the Pacific. So they needed space, and land, as scarce it was, they built it on Turner Street. They didn't really go to Chinatown. So there's economics behind why these things happen. But did they care about the people? No, they just threw them out. And that to us is the tragedy. That's the history of not only just of this community, but if you look at every mineral town that exists up and down the West Coast, they all look the same. They just pour it down. There are no remnants to memorialize that these were places where our monarchs lived. And yet their laborers were prospered and built the agribusiness, the fisheries, the canning industry up in PASA. So you really have, you don't have to really go far to really understand what racism is, because look at our very people, they experience that. And it's happening today. Like in South Market, there's a lot of families there who are faced with eviction, displacement, because they're doing gentrification, they're building new high-end housing, they're building high-tech, businesses there. Twitter was just one, but there are many more. So you see, it continues. There's no justice, there's no equity, it sort of forces people to move out of San Francisco. My wife teaches in a school where about half the school is Filipinos, a lot more homeless kids. Parents are working 2 jobs or 3 jobs, struggling. So it's really continuous. I can't stand it. I have to do something. I have to organize. I have to work with the community behind it, because if we don't, then it just means that generation will suffer. People who live in those districts, in that district will suffer. And for college students to come out, when I was teaching at Berkeley, we had community field work where many students could go into the community, work for nonprofits, work for a youth program or whatever. That to me was the best education for them, because they had some direction, because whatever they wanted to be, they could also benefit the community. They would know something about what the issues are, say the poverty that they face. You see, that to me is what I think is most important about the university. Sort of a balance of view about reality. On one hand, you see, how the good life that comes with being in a university is privileged to me. You have all these old doors that open to you at the same time. It's how do you understand your own community? You want to do God, but can you make a difference in the lives of other people, especially? We prove that in our own, because there could not have been a struggle or a win to get the I-Hotel up without an intergeneration of us with the elderly. It was just, that was the right combination. It was like a lot of young people who took to the streets, and helped build a movement. It was the monos were great too, because they had nothing to lose by standing. Their leadership was always present in the way that we ran, built the organization, stood up. When you look at every floor, from here all the way down, you see pictures of people. You just got to walk down the stairway, the exit, and you'll just go through. Just walk through, when you walk over there, you'll see two photos that have been inscribed next to the windows, and you see a lot of faces. Those were the I-Hotel tenants, or people in the community.
It reminds you of what you fought for, right?
Well, it's a monument. This is This hotel isn't just, this new building isn't just, housing. It's so similar, to the other Manila towns that existed throughout California, Washington State. They all got bulldozed over. They all got torn down. So there's something very profound about this building. It's a new building. It's a high rise. It's right on Curry Street. It was a victory to fight to get it up. But, we lost so much, right? We lost 9 other blocks. We lost other Manila towns. So that history, and hopefully you guys will do that. I mean, you'll probably have families. And parents are always the first teachers. So we used to, my wife and I bring our kids to demonstrations, cultural events and things like that. That's how they got. That's where their identity is from, being Americans. Because we take them, But, every college student has to go through a similar thing. Yes, you're probably going to want to buy a house at some point, or have a family with kids. But don't let the Hollywood and everything dictate how they are raised. Because you are the first teachers. Like us, we don't have TV in our house. We just don't need it. That's why we think our kids are so bright, because they learn on. I have a daughter who's going to medical school, and I have a son who's dating this year in 2 months. So, but you have to resist all the garbage, the crap.
Yeah.
They're all being thrown at, like you guys. You guys grew up with a lot of TV and a lot of commercials and
Brands.
trying to force you to buy whatever. And mad at your parents because they don't want to buy it for you. But that cycle will continue.
Continues.
So you have to just, I don't know, you just have to think about who you are, what you want to do. The history. You're fortunate. At a time, there's so much Asian American history and Asian American studies in the universities. We didn't have that when we started. We had to create. So hopefully it'll become. Now I understand. Is it East Bay where they're trying to close the Asian American studies? I hear that.
It was SF State.
Yeah.
Ethnic
So,
State. Fight for ethnic
ethics college.
studies.
Yeah.
So that's the big coming balance.
Yeah, it was the budgeting thing.
Yeah, they wanted to cut.
They were going to cut
budgeting
their
for the
budget for
college
ethnic
of
studies.
Yeah. I was at that protest and just.
They just
We were
there's
just
no
like,
respect.
no, you
Yeah.
can't do
There's
that.
no respect. And we're on the bottom when it comes to getting on the general fund.
Yeah. Gosh.
Yeah. So you don't have to go far to see
It's
where
right
the
on
struggle is. You just
Yeah.
got to jump in.
It's here. It's just,
Just like in
Just
our
gotta see.
backyard happening.
it literally is.
Okay, this one it goes back again to that time. There's excerpts of interviews where protesters claimed we had to be on the lookout and always ready. The cops could enter at any time. It felt like we were preparing for war. Please describe how you personally felt during the time. Did you feel like you were prepared for any consequence that may come your way just to protect the I-Hotel? Example, jail time, police brutality, getting severely injured, death.
Well, we always knew that it was going to come back. Yeah, we may have 1 or 3 years we were able to go on the struggle. Ultimately, we were able to head back to court, which did. And then there was an unlawful detainer action that led ultimately to the eviction. So, it's kind of tough. I always think about how many of the old guys and many of the people living there had to deal with it because they lived in a time when their homes were in jeopardy. I mean, for me as a young person, I always felt like I had options. But for many of them, they didn't. And it came down to whether they could stay or not. And when they couldn't stay, they were thrown out on the street. I mean, literally thrown on the street. Nothing is more disgraceful to what our city did than that time. Brutalized people. stood up for one principle, the rights and the dignity of human beings. So, you know, when I mean, I don't look at it like, you know, like a war. I see it as just, this is what they throw at you. You know, you want to stay here, stay put, like the Occupy movement. You stay put, but then they allow the police around, destroy your tents and force you out on the street. That's exactly what happened. That's how they dismantle whatever community you have. It doesn't matter what happens to the people. It doesn't matter how they brutalize them. You know? There's just, within the society, there's just not enough, well, they don't prioritize, so there is housing, affordable housing, they don't prioritize the needs of poor people. So you're all starting to be, the police, the authorities are always giving you a hard time. I mean, look at the Black Lives Matter.
Wow.
What is that all about? It's about the fact that blacks have their lives have little value to our society. That's why I look at it. And I think in many ways people of color can't escape our color. And I think that early on, if you were able to get that across, say to you, you guys are at a time when you're going to be having another generation following. And I mean, it's always hard to sort of talk this stuff out to people that they really don't understand. You gotta be able to have that consciousness that you gotta know about this. We gotta be able to educate people. You gotta know. Because our rights are at stake, you know, they'll do everything to hurt not just us, but other people. We have to form coalitions to try to stop it. That's the way. That's where we were successful during the time. I mean, it wasn't just 50 people, 55. It was like a broad mass of people from all walks of life, you know, even internationally. When they evicted us, that was like a shot heard around the world. You have to be able to, you just have to have a consciousness, you know, like the monks taught me about their lives. And in that sense, they try to, you know, they have limits, you know, they're faced with racist laws, they're faced with, you know, second-class citizenship. Yeah, it was, at that time, it was okay to discriminate in employment, in housing, you know, in retail. It was just theaters. It was just okay, you know. And they have laws on the books, but like to me, you know, this thing about black young people being murdered, that doesn't make sense. I mean, that shows, again, the lack, you know, here police have guns, but that should be the last resort. They should be finding all kinds of other ways of talking to people, getting them to back off, contain them, but why resort to weapons like that? Unless people are racist and they have pulled the trigger. They just want to get rid of them. It's like in the movies, you know, they just get rid of the problem, bombing them, shooting. That doesn't end the problem. The problem gets worse. So we have to know how to diffuse conflict, how to ways to be able to talk it through. We'll get to it. You know, so we don't really, you know, so that we understand how to problem solve, you know, through critical thinkers. It took a long time for me to figure that stuff out. But God knows the remedies for having to deal with people shooting, killing them, using violence. I mean, as self-defense, I can understand it, but to use that as a means of problem solving, it just doesn't. So how do you teach young kids who are going through a period of trying to learn how to deal with conflict, dealing with, say, personality differences. How do you try to work with them so that they can step back and not lower themselves to that point, engaging with people, who are trying to fight the bully? How do you help them understand what they can do about it and not feel alone, like when you share the problem? Because that happened to me. I mean, I would always feel very alone when I got talked to. That happens. You just sink into yourself. And, wow, who knows what this is all about? Understanding what's the nature of the society. So.
Okay. There's a photograph from the examiner of you being dragged out by deputies in their riot gear. In that moment in time, what was going through your mind?
Well, I was in pain. They were trying to brutalize me. But I wasn't just thinking about myself. I was thinking about our tenants in the hotel. They just came out. To me, it was just really worse. I was the head of the National Tenants Association. It was just really. I never had ever felt anything so horrendous than to watch that, to see that, to experience that. I mean, I tried to do what I could, but I was up against 200 police, sheriffs. You have the whole city of San Francisco. And we got 3,000 people outside all the time. I mean, it's a massive eviction, just a massive mess. People out there fighting for justice. So you don't see these kinds of things, but they do happen. So that happened, 39 years ago. It's kind of like an open wound that just doesn't heal. It's something that you live with. But I wouldn't stop for 1 minute to go through the camera, mind of what I did to try to prevent an eviction.
In the violence, police brutality, how would you have done things differently?
It's not what we would have done. We couldn't do it.
Yeah.
We just refused to move. They were the ones that just came for us. And they destroyed the hotel. And they destroyed our many lives. I mean, the total cost. There wasn't anything we could do. This was a decision by the courts, and it got carried out. It was that simple. How destructive. The loss of life, so many of our moms, they just didn't live that much longer. They lost their community, their families. We were the family. We all protected each other. They were out there, their hotels, pray for others, criminals, trying to break in their names. It was really tough. I mean, that to me was one of the worst things, that they just didn't have the support of the community that they once had. And so many of them were up in their 70s and their 80s already. So yeah, it's just absolute tragedy that there wasn't a real resolution to it. The only thing they do is they give us this. 23 years later.
23 years later. Yeah, so when you heard that it was being rebuilt, what was going through your head?
Well, I was involved in that.
Okay.
So in that sense, yeah, sure. We were fighting for housing. We were getting housing. So it's affordable housing for seniors. It's federally subsidized. New building. Tall building. I mean, look at this place. It's really amazing. But it's not enough. You got more buildings being built.
It's affordable
Middle and
housing.
high-end housing. It's not enough. You're talking about displacement of more people in the neighborhood. So, I mean, what the perception of Chinatown, Mission, all that will change over time. Because that land is just way too valuable to let, just regular working people run their businesses and keep it. So.
Oh, we're on our last question. You were only 25 years old when you planned and led one of the most historical events in Filipino American history. Your actions, courage, and passion to fight for justice is extremely admirable. With the recent events, like what we were talking about earlier, police brutality, young adults or youth are becoming more involved in activism. If you could give advice to today's youth and young adults, especially Filipino Americans, what message would you want to convey to them?
Well, it's important that you know who you are, first of all. Because you could be Filipino but never think you're Filipino. You could think you're something else. But it's important that you try to really grapple with who you are, what your roots are as a person, or your ancestors. And that is an important foundation because the more, like going to a university, like say, your school, or Berkeley, it's very removed from the rest of the community. And that's because they want you to get an education so in a way you can move on into a so-called better life. But then really, if you come from those neighborhoods like Chinatown or Union City, you've got to take a look and consolidate those areas and see what's needed and how you require to help to make it a better community. How you, like one thing I admire about a lot of your generation is how many people work with young people, youth, teenagers, young kids. And I think that's really admirable, because too often they don't have